What's going on, fight fans? This is Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Rob Jarrell, and this is the initial reaction to Canelo versus Triple G 3, in which Canelo took a 12-round decision. The scores was 116 to 112, and two scorecards had it 115 to 113. And personally, I think that's BS. As good as this fight was, as decent as this fight was, it wasn't as good or as close as the first two fights, which was a split draw and a majority draw, and a majority decision. Whereas this fight seemed pretty handily had gone to Canelo. He was just the more accurate fighter, the more active fighter, and he landed the more showy punches more often in the first 8 rounds of the fight. Golovkin was there. I think he may have won the first, but that's really debatable. But from then to the 9th round, it was all Canelo. He was just sharper. His conditioning looked better. He looked younger, and that age really did play a major difference in this fight, because Triple G in the first 2/3 of the fight just seemed like he couldn't find the will, or maybe he was just tentative from any counterpunch and return fire from Canelo to really establish a jab, go to the body, or throw the right hand. Those are 3 things that I think would have helped him in this fight. Old Triple G, big drama show Triple G, would have gone for the gusto. He wouldn't have cared about Canelo's punches and just throw the jab, double, triple it up, go to the body, or go with a straight right hand and end it with a left hook. That did not happen. He actually looked as though he couldn't really get the work rate, and was very concerned about making it to those championship rounds from round 9 through 12. And I understand when you're older and had some very tough fights. Besides Canelo, again, I told you, he had a really tough fight at least through 7th round versus Ryota Murata. He had a difficult fight versus Sergey Derevchenko. The other fights, he pretty much did what he had to do. That's neither here nor there. And then those really 2 action-packed fights with Canelo. So yeah, this was he was up against it, especially if at 40, at a higher weight class, which he didn't look as solid or as ripped as he normally does. So not really sure how the conditioning played a factor there. And it might have played a factor mentally and physically. He said in this fight, or going into this fight, that he doesn't feel as upset or as irritated or as annoyed by people due to trying to get down to 160. Granted, that's great for you physically. You don't feel as bad going into the fight, but you may feel a little bit more sluggish, and you might want to be a bit annoyed going into the fight, because you got to take all of that out on somebody, and the guy that you should be taking that out on is right there in front of you. But when he got into round 9, he decided to step on the gas and increase his work rate, doubling, tripling up that jab, stepping in, getting into Canelo's wheelhouse and getting in close range. He was operating quite frequently from distance, because he wanted to create, I guess, enough space between himself and that counterpuncher from Canelo. I told you in the preview, he needs to operate mid-range to close range. Now, granted, Canelo's a very physically strong guy, even at his height, and against bigger fighters. He had his way with a lot of guys at 168 and Kovalev at 175. But Triple G is just a guy who is very built, very sturdy, very physically strong, and hits hard. He really needed to step on the gas probably at around round 5. But I can see with that concern about him maintaining his conditioning, maintaining his power, and allowing it to carry him through, along with his focus, to the 12th round. So we got a pretty decent fight. Canelo will be looking to possibly defend all his belts, or fighting the winner of Dimitri Bivol versus his next opponent, Zurdo Ramirez. As far as Triple G, he still does hold 3, if I'm not mistaken, 3 of the 4 belts in the middleweight division. He can find a money fight. He can fight a Charlo and get a big payday. And I'm pretty sure there's a challenger. I think it's maybe the winner of Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. That would be a good fight overseas in England, because we know he's willing to travel, or he might just take it in Kazakhstan for geopolitical reasons. That might be a little bit difficult. Go look up some videos about that. You've got YouTube. Other than that, tell us what you think. Do you think Triple G just got old overnight and he's on his way out? Maybe a couple more fights. Canelo is just that much better than him and just has Triple G's number. It happens in the career of these fighters, and that's okay. That doesn't make him any less of a fighter as far as history is concerned. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you already subscribed, hit that notification bell so you get the latest and greatest from myself and Hakeem as far as boxing, MMA, and any other fight sports that we decide that needs to be talked on. And until then, fight on.